Hi, friends. I'm Lauren.
And I'm Katie, and welcome to Okay, But Did You Know? A podcast where we talk about the TV and media that we love with a friend who's never seen it before.
Today we're recapping and chatting about Once Upon a Time, episode 120, The Stranger. This episode aired on April 29th, 2012. It was written by Andrew Chambliss and Ian Goldberg, and was directed by Gwyneth Horder-Payton. So before we get into our very chaotic chatting, let's do a synopsis for the episode. In the Enchanted Forest, after sacrificing himself to save his father, Pinocchio is granted the gift to become a real boy if he remains selfless, brave, and true. But with the curse approaching, his resolve is being tested when Geppetto is asked to carve the enchanted wardrobe that will send the savior to safety. He is tasked with guiding the savior in this new land so that she will believe in her destiny. But when given the opportunity to pursue his own happiness, he gives in, leaving Emma in a foster home alone. And in Storybrooke, more determined than ever, Emma wants to get Henry away from Regina. Gold had refused to help her, but she follows August as he believes he has some advice that could help. While Regina attempts a new form of revenge on Mary Margaret that backfires, Emma is confronted with the idea that she is responsible for everyone's happiness. August just wants her to believe, but he can't make her if she doesn't want to. All she can handle right now is Henry, and she'll take him with her, no matter what.
Yeah, I have feelings about that.
I wrote so many tongue twisters in that one. I don't know why. There's so many S words all in one go. That was a mouthful.
Where do I begin on this one? Oh my goodness. I have feelings.
Yeah. And I wasn't really expecting you to, but I feel like that's a me problem. I probably should have figured there were parts where you were gonna want to yell.
But starting off, I had to laugh though with Mary Margaret being like, fourth graders, they're not going to be that rough. I'm like, fourth graders can be rough, man. I know, I have one.
Fourth graders can be rough. It's why I didn't teach elementary school.
My child is a fourth grader. I mean, she's homeschooled at least, but yeah, fourth graders are rough, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's an unpopular opinion or not because I'm new to the fandom, but I don't think Emma should try to get custody. I don't think she should try to do any of this.
Yeah, at this point in the season, I don't necessarily know what the opinion was at this point in the season. Something that I marked down a lot, especially after the confrontation between Mary Margaret and Regina, of her saying that Emma is her or when she says that Henry's with his mother. I'm like, there is some writing here that I don't like, and that they do this in the next season also, and I'm like, yeah. And next season when they do it, the writers kind of tried to make it better, but they really didn't. I don't necessarily know what the fandom's consensus was, at least when this aired, about whether Emma is in the right. I think the stance that I see most often is that no one should or that they shouldn't discount Regina as his mother so quickly, just because Emma's now ready to be his mother. Regina is still his mother.
It takes me back to those lines of, I changed his diapers. I did all these things. I did all these things. Just because Regina didn't birth him doesn't mean that she's not his mother. Is she shitty for what she did to Mary Margaret and being the evil queen? Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
But she has raised Henry. There's no denying that.
No, exactly. It's you may have given birth to him, but he is my son. And the thing that there will be a confrontation at one point in season 2, where they're trying to keep Henry from her for whatever reasons, and she's you can't keep him from me. He's my son, and Emma fights back and goes, he is not. He's mine. And they constantly kind of say that Emma doesn't need Regina's permission for things. And when the writers were confronted with it, they're they don't hate Regina because they think she's a bad mom. They're keeping Henry away because she repeatedly tries to kill them, which fair. But that's not what your characters are saying, because you're saying they're coming from a place of she's unfit to be his mother. And quite frankly, if that's what they did in the show, I'd be okay with them having that, the characters having that take. What your characters are saying is that Regina is not his mother, and that is a very different idea.
And that's what really got to me, because I'm like, Regina is still his mother. There are other people in the world that may not be the best people, as people, but they're still parents.
Yeah.
And unless they're actively doing something to the child, how do you justify that?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think it's a line in the next episode when Emma will go to Archie next, and she asks him do you think she would ever hurt him, and he's like, no, never. Everyone else maybe, but never Henry.
I mean, accurate.
Like, that's truthfully the thing is she will destroy everyone in her path. Never Henry.
Okay, I had to laugh at this too. I wrote, take a day off, and who is going to cover for her? There's no deputies. There's nobody. Can you take a day off? Okay, the town just doesn't have a sheriff. It's what is that one movie called? Purge Day? Like, go have your fun. Yeah. Like, what? Mm-hmm. What are we doing?
Like, to be fair, other than the odd, kidnapping murder case that happened, Storybrooke doesn't really have a whole lot of crime other than maybe drunk Leroy.
Yeah, I mean, fair. I'm just saying, like, it's kind of funny to be able to just tell your town sheriff, you should take the day off and hang out with me. It's like, okay.
Well, he's not from the town. He doesn't know that. I mean, I guess he does, but like...
Well, he knows enough.
He's got his motives.
And I did write for when Mary Margaret and Regina had their little tiff. I did write, hell yeah, Mary Margaret. I'm like, yay. The almost nun is sticking up for herself.
The almost nun. I love that we're seeing more of Snow come through in Mary Margaret, especially in that scene. And especially in her her line of even if you can't own up to what you did, I forgive you. That is directly mirrored in a scene that we'll see from a flashback again in season 2. Like I'm picking up on these things I've never picked up on before, and I'm like, I love that they mirrored this later on. I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Did you ever think when you were binging so many years ago you get to do this one day?
I really didn't think I could analyze this any deeper than I already had.
And enter Katie.
Enter Katie.
I wrote down too, I'm like, oh, Henry, this poor kid, this can't be easy. He's like pretty much like, oh my God, my mom is the evil queen. What do I do? Which is why he's latching on to Emma so much, because even though she's the birth mother, he doesn't know her.
No, yeah.
Like, oh man, these dynamics.
He knows that Emma is the savior, and like, I mean, he's having the existential crisis. I think the implication is that when he went off looking for Emma after Mary Margaret gave him the book, I think the implication is that, or not implication, actually, no, we do see this. In a flashback very briefly, that like he knows he's adopted, like he can't fill out a family tree. I think this is the implication part. It's implied that just before this assignment is when he was told that he was adopted, so that's what kind of sent everything off. So he's kind of having some kind of, it's that question of why would anyone give me away, which is a fair question to ask. And he latches on to the fantasy as a lot of kids do.
Oh, yeah. It's just weird that he approaches it as most children would be like, mad, why did you give me up? Henry is very much like, I found you, now we're a family. Like, he brought Emma into his world, and he's like, okay, you can't go now, you have to stay.
Yeah. But I wrote this down, I'm like, take the context of the show out of the situation of like, because take the context of Henry is right, take that out of the equation. Regina's not in the wrong for like her wanting to separate him from Mary Margaret, for her crossing a lot of boundaries with Henry. Or crossing boundaries with Emma and Henry. She's not in the wrong if you take out the dramatic irony aspect of they don't. And if you take out the aspect that we know that Henry's right, Henry doesn't 100% know that he's right yet. August has said that August has said that that he knows the book is real, so he's got that. But he will have some. Henry will have some concrete evidence in the next episode that he's right before everything goes to hell. But he doesn't. Like he's yelling at Regina of like, no matter what you do, your Snow White will be with Prince Charming, good will win. Like, but take out the context of that he's right. She's not in the wrong as a parent with the way she wants to handle things.
I mean, well, it's kind of weird that I can
maybe not the framing Mary Margaret part.
Yeah, I was about to say she framed Mary Margaret for some stuff, and it's like maybe not that part. But
she's not in the right there. No. Like, okay. Yes.
Well, I can't really be mad at Mary Margaret for giving the child some form of fantasy to hold on to either. Yeah. When he's dealing with something so big. So
exactly.
Oh, it's just so much that I don't know what to feel.
No, I know. But it goes back to that scene from the pilot where like went with Mary Margaret and Emma. When she goes like, no, what do you think stories are for? These stories, the classics, there's a reason we all know them. They're a way for us to deal with our world, and a world that doesn't always make sense. And Henry hasn't had the easiest life. She's kind of a hard ass. No, it's more than her. He's like any adopted child. He wrestles that most basic question they all inevitably face. Why would anyone give me away? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean in any way to judge you. It's okay. I gave the book to him because I wanted Henry to have the most important thing anyone can have. Hope. Believing in even the possibility of a happy ending is a very powerful thing. Like, that's fair. That's totally fair. But after that, maybe there's some boundary crossing.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Tiny bit.
I know you're ready to talk about this next topic, too. I know you're very excited for this. I just wrote, Regina, please don't try to seduce Charming. This is so awkward. I hated it.
Which is fair. I mean, not everyone loves Evil Charming. They have a special place in my heart. And I'll fully admit, I've definitely read some fan fictions where that scene ended differently.
No, thank you. I'm good. We've made the agreement. We're not getting me into fan fiction, or I will never come out of that hole.
Yes, it's true. Like I say, we are all welcome to have our own different ships. We don't ship shame. I ship everything, quite frankly. So, it is what it is. I will admit, the first few, like when I was younger, the first few watches, I didn't pick up on the fact that she was doing all of that intentionally. Because I was a kid. I was a kid. Like when I was like 16, 17, I didn't pick up on the fact that it was intentional. It took a few watches. I'm like, oh, that's on purpose. Okay. It's all because of what happened with Mary Margaret and Henry in the beginning.
Didn't give it away to you?
No, apparently I didn't notice it. Or like maybe when I was a kid, the first thing I saw was like, oh, that's funny that they left in the fact that they forgot to write in the note. That's probably what I thought it was. I thought it was like a goof. Again, when I was like 16. Now, and I'm like, oh, this is a new form of revenge because Mary Margaret yelled at her and Henry yelled at her. So we're going to try and just keep Snow and Charming apart even more.
She's running out of options.
She is running out of options. And so she's resorting to this. And like, I personally love that scene for a multitude of reasons. I mean, Lana just kind of being great in it, notwithstanding. Like, for some reason, her saying, well, it hasn't exactly been a banner day. I don't know why that always makes me laugh. I don't know why. She's very cute when she hits her head on the underside of her car hood. She's very, it's a new side of Regina, even though it's a manipulation. I did notice this time when she's telling David the story of how she found him, she lightens her voice. It's almost kind of like mirroring. It's not quite young Regina voice, but it's definitely a higher pitched voice. But that scene, especially the thing of that scene that gets me, and you can go back to your saying how uncomfortable Evil Charming makes you afterwards, which is fine. I'm taking this down to a very serious tangent, but this was something that I wrote in my notes. I'm like, that is the scene where I began to fall in love with Lana's acting, and this is actually the scene where Regina becomes my favorite character.
It wasn't when she was like up against her mom? No,
it wasn't.
Wow.
I'm going to read what I wrote because I think I said a little more articulately, and then I will expand on it. So watching it so slowly, I've had the time to really take in the dynamic, and they do build up this Regina Charming or David thing, even though it doesn't happen. David saying, this is great like it is. There is a relationship there, whether it's Regina going to him after his fugue state, David coming to her after he thinks Mary Margaret killed Catherine, or even her being the one to guide him towards Gold's shop. There is a dynamic. I wrote down, there's chemistry. I'm not crazy. But then I kept going. It's when Regina looks at herself in the mirror after he leaves. Regina looking in the mirror and seeing herself and how far she's let herself go for her revenge. She can't even look at herself anymore. And this scene can be taken in a few different ways, because people can interpret things differently. Someone else could interpret this as her being upset that it didn't work, but I interpret it I interpret it in a way, and I see something deeper in her eyes, that there is a hatred, but it's a hatred for what she's become. And you can see that sadness and that anger in her eyes all the way through the scene, even as you see Regina in the shards of what's left in the mirror. This is where I fell in love with Lana's acting, and from here on out, Regina is full stop my favorite character.
I definitely first saw it as her being angry it didn't work out. I can see where you're coming from, but I think it's because you know more about her.
This is true.
You've got the rest of her story. Because you know more about her, you've got her full story. For a first-time viewer like myself, we don't know enough to know if there's anything else going on there mentally. For us, it very much is just, she's mad. It didn't work. She's mad. So I feel like having that background information and watching it again is so much different than, as we've said throughout the entire podcast, first-time viewer. Like, it's a fun experience. We've got you, the seasoned viewer, me, the first-time viewer, and getting that experience is just so much fun. Because there's so much and so you're interpreting everything differently, and I know nothing.
No, yeah. Well, it's like, I even, like I said, like I can see how someone can interpret that as a moment of anger that it didn't work. I think for me, what it is you can still, I mean, it's the theater adage of like, you don't stop acting until you're off stage. Like, you walk off stage in character. You can, for me, and again, this is my interpretation, but I think this is something in the performance is, there's a sadness in her eyes when you just see the shards of the mirror left as she walks out of frame or the frame cuts out. I think that's part of where it comes from, but it's just, I know it's all a manipulation. I know that this is all her one last ditch effort, but she covers such a range of emotions in like 5 minutes. And like that more so than the evil charming thing is like, this is the scene where I started to really love Regina as a character and Lana's portrayal and the acting. And like the scene with Cora was heartbreaking. It was completely heartbreaking to watch. And the scene with Cora and Snow at the end of the Stable Boy, just as heartbreaking to watch and such good quality acting. But I always looked at that scene in that moment of her throwing the wine glass at the mirror. That is the scene where I started to love Regina as a character. I can't fully explain why.
I love it.
Other than just, I love that I have found that moment. Like from here on out, she's my favorite character. So
I want to preface this that I am not mad at the child. I am not mad at the children. I am very angry with the adults.
All of the adults in this situation.
Geppetto, what the fuck?
It's not good.
I get it. You want your son safe too. It took you so long to go from the wooden boy to a real life human being. I get it. But at the same time, what the I'm at I need to have words.
The question that I have for that situation is, his concern is that when the curse hits and they're ripped from each other, that he'll turn back into wood. Is that not also the same concern if you send him to the land without magic ahead of the curse? Because the concern is the magic.
Ooh.
So, like...
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
How is that not also a concern? Like, sending him ahead to a land without magic doesn't solve the issue of, in this land without magic, he might not be human anymore.
And I now have issues with the Blue Fairy for allowing any of this.
And this is why everyone speculated that Blue was evil the entire time.
This is why. Oh.
Like, so much of what happens in this first season, she seems to kind of be there when a lot of stuff happens. Everyone's like... could she just be behind the scenes doing evil things all the time? And she isn't. Like, that's not a spoiler. That's just, she just isn't. And I'm like, but why didn't they do that? That would have been so cool.
That would have been so cool. Because I'm just sitting here like, why did she allow this? They go on and on that the Blue Fairy wants Pinocchio to be a good boy and tell the truth and do all these things. And then the moment Geppetto steps in and does the stupidest thing he could do, it's
Yep.
Blue Fairy doesn't care. And I'm like, dude. No. You are not you are magic. You could stop them. Why are you letting them do this?
I don't know.
No, let's put children through no. Let's put a 7-year-old and a newborn through to the world without magic by themselves.
Exactly. And the ideology of like the, originally it was going to be the two people that can go in, being Charming and Snow, and then just one person still being Snow while pregnant. So the idea that Snow could go through the wardrobe while pregnant unscathed with their whole stupid only one can go through the portal thing means that the writers and the culture of the Enchanted Forest operate under the life begins at birth mentality.
Oh, I love that, actually. That's hilarious.
We really dive deep into this.
That.
They fully admit that Snow pregnant with, fetus savior could go through a portal that can only take one person.
I'm sorry, you have to leave fetus savior in now.
But it's that idea that would work just fine. So we're going with life begins at birth.
No, I'm laughing though because you say fetus savior and all this stuff, and then what in Geppetto's mind? Like, he had to have been so hell-bent on saving his son that he didn't even think of the logistics of who's taking care of the children on the other side of this. What if they were like nowhere near civilization?
No, he has no idea.
A 7-year-old and a newborn.
No idea.
Alone. My children, I texted you earlier today, my children are 6 years apart. When my second child was born, I wouldn't even let the 6-year-old hold the baby without supervision. there was only, you had to sit down, you had to have your pillow ready, and you could sit and hold the baby, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
She could not stand up with the baby. I would not even let my 6-year-old stand and hold a newborn.
That's reasonable.
Because one, and that head hits the floor.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to entrust a 7-year-old that used to be a puppet.
Yeah.
With a newborn princess.
That used to be a puppet.
You're not wrong. This to me.
I can't begin to understand Geppetto.
So I have beef with Geppetto.
So does
I never thought I would say that sentence a day in my life. That I have beef with Geppetto. And apparently the Blue Fairy too. That may be a continuing trend. I don't know what the hell else she's gonna do. Because what?
Last week I had a thing about the Blue Fairy that I actually forgot to mention.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's a fun fact to me. I think it's fun. I put a link, I think, in the script also for last week. But I did look up, actually, because they called her Rule Gorm last week, which I thought was interesting. So, apparently, because I don't think we ever hear Rule Gorm used ever again. I don't think.
Oh my goodness.
But Rule Gorm is actually Scots Gaelic for Blue Star, which is nice, considering that Rumpelstiltskin / Robert Carlyle is Scottish. I like that they included that.
All the discussions we've had on Gaelic in the past few months as well.
Yeah. So it's nice that they really did use the actual like translation for it. And apparently, the name of the convent for the Storybrooke nuns derives its name. I didn't write down what the name was, that's on me. But it apparently derives the name from the star in Orion, which is positioned between Betelgeuse and Bellatrix, which means the Shining One.
Okay, that's really cool.
So, etymology of the Blue Fairy. They did it right.
Well, they at least got this right.
They're pretty good with their etymology, I will say. Their naming, they're very good with the names. Maybe not so much how other things in life works, but they got the names.
I was about to say, they got etymology right. They have childcare all wrong.
They do have childcare all wrong.
I really enjoyed further into this episode when, August is trying to explain to Emma and get her to believe, which all that tells me is Peter Pan's coming soon with all the believe, you have to believe.
Eventually.
Her response to being told pretty much she's the chosen one is the proper response to being told you're the chosen one.
I wrote down that line. It's like, I don't want them to need me. And he said, like you're responsible. She's like, you're saying that I'm responsible for everyone's happiness. That is crap. I don't want it, which is 100% reasonable.
Oh yeah. Every time I've read, I'm a fantasy reader. There's so many the trope of the chosen one I've read more times than I should admit. And there's so many times that, yes, the people do write the chosen one of I don't want this. No, thank you. But there's so many times that they don't, that I'm like, no, I'm sorry. This is the correct response. I don't want this.
No, because that is a lot to put on one person. And then like he says, you didn't want Henry until, you had him. Just he's all I can handle right now, which is completely fair. She's uprooted her life for him. But to be responsible for an entire realm's happiness is a lot. And I think that's very much the more we've got our savior, we got our chosen one trope, which I feel like we don't see so much with adult characters. You don't.
It's mostly YA.
Yeah, it's a lot of YA and middle grade fantasy. You've got your Percy Jackson, you've got your wizarding things that I'm not going to say. You've got pretty much most high fantasy, I would say YA. A lot of them involved the chosen one trope, and I think it is a very teen thing. I was going to say with YA, because YA, you can have books about teenagers without them being YA, which is not something people always tend to understand. Because because your main characters are teenagers does not mean that you're really seeing things from the teenager's perspective. And that's something that I've done some of the research because I had to for grad school, that when it comes to YA media, you need to have not just teenage characters, but the teen perspective on things. And it's very much of the teen perspective to kind of take on the chosen one thing, kind of gung-ho. And I think it is a little bit more in character for a character who's 28 years old to be like, I'm the chosen one? Are you kidding me? No.
Exactly.
I'm not doing this. And I mean, she kind of has no choice.
That'd be me. I'm like, I'm about to turn 30. No, I'm good. I got enough on my plate.
Like, I am 28. I don't need to be the chosen one. I'm good. I'm okay. So, luckily no kids showed up on my doorstep asking if he can have some juice and he needs me to go save a town. I'm good.
You're good to go. Just give it a little while later. Bilbo was much older, so
here you go.
You may still end up with a Gandalf at your door.
Maybe. Wait, I got some years for that.
You got some years for that, though. Bilbo was not young. Well, no. In our terms. Hobbits age weird.
Yeah.
And then my last note is just, Emma, what are you doing? This is kidnapping.
Yep, I wrote down in all caps, Emma, no, kidnapping the child is not the answer.
We really went from child abandonment to kidnapping. What is this episode?
Yeah, it's not great, and I will say, I mean, this isn't a spoiler because this is the first 5 minutes of the next episode, is that Henry's just like, fine. No, you can't do this, then they drive the bug off the road a lot. That poor Volkswagen bug really takes a beating on the show.
Oh no.
But he like immediately is like, we can't leave. Like, no, we can't do this. So she does bring him back, and when she sees Mary Margaret again, I cannot wait for you to watch the scene with Mary Margaret because she tears her down. Like, how dare you?
I'm really excited, though, because I don't have to wait between these two now.
No, you don't.
I get to watch the next two in one.
Yeah, we are doing one nice big finale special, which is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, you get to watch 2 episodes at once. You get to finish the season. And I get to watch, effectively 3 episodes, because I have to. I would say have to. I'm going to watch the finale with commentary.
You choose to do this.
I choose to. I really don't have to, but it makes for a better podcast episode if I do. I got a lot to talk about.
That's gonna be a long episode.
It's gonna be a long episode. It's gonna be. I don't know if it'll be double, but it'll definitely be longer than normal.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to figure out a way to structure that in a way that's like, we talk about the first episode and then the second episode. Like, we kind of have to structure it like our Bob's ones and not just talk about both at the same time, because then it's going to be way too confusing for anyone to follow.
Oh, wait, I had one other question.
Yes.
Why is the blue fairy wearing platform heels?
I wrote that down too. I'm like, why is she wearing those even though she can fly?
We really went platform heels to nuns. Like,
yeah, those
things were thick.
They were thick. I mean, I don't think kindergarten race is that short. Hang on, here's our weekly.
I mean, what's it matter?
Session.
She's a fairy.
I mean, she's flying. Like, let's be real here. I think in some episodes she's tiny, barefoot when she's flying. She's 5'4". She's not that short.
And she's taller than me, but who isn't?
I don't know. I mean, she's about an inch shorter than me, but I don't know why she's wearing platform heels. That seems overly excessive, but it is what it is.
Like, you're flying.
Why wear shoes?
Yeah. What's the point? You can fly everywhere.
She lives in a flower. Like,
and if you do have to walk, why would you be in platform heels in the forest?
I don't know. There is an episode, I want to say it's season 6. I think this might be the only time we ever see it, where she gets big in fairy form. And it's the weirdest thing. Because I think we only see her being big in fairy form once. And it's just, it's so bizarre. Most of my notes are pretty aligned with yours. I will say, I wrote down Pinocchio becoming a real boy was giving me flashbacks to my 5th grade play. Weirdly enough, because like he's a kid. He's acting like a 10-year-old. I think the actor might have been 10 around that time. And so in the 5th grade, my teacher wrote a version of Cinderella called Cybernella, where she was a robot. She wrote a play for 10-year-olds. We're not gonna talk about the logistics of it. It had some American Idol references in it because this was 2006. Like,
you had an interesting childhood.
I did. I love this, and I was the titular character Cybernella, the one and only time I've ever gotten a starring role in a school production. But for some reason this line will always stick in my brain, and I watched the home video of it, so I know that I said it like a 10-year-old says things. One of the last lines was when the robot gets turned into a real person. I don't know why that's how we did this. My line was, I finally have my very own fingerprints. I always wish that someday my prince would come. Fingerprints.
That is comedy gold. That is,
kudos to Mrs. Bacher. She deserves all of the accolades. I hope she's doing okay.
That is amazing.
I love her so much. It was so good.
That is dad joke level.
There were a lot of those in that play, I will say. But so his acting of, I'm a real boy, I'm like, oh, this is giving me Cybernella flashbacks. I don't know how I feel about this. But what did you think about the reveal of him turning back into wood?
I was kind of annoyed that Emma couldn't see it, but is it truly because she doesn't believe fully yet?
Mm-hmm.
That is so annoying. The CGI, once again, like, dude.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest looking wood I have ever seen, and I just realized what I said as I said it.
I was like, the CGI of him turning back into the puppet, the real puppet looked really cool. Like the real puppet that that Geppetto picked up when he died briefly. August CGI does not get any better, sadly.
Nope.
But every time I watch that scene, I just think of there's like a good 30 seconds of bloopers of August or Ian in Granny's, and when he has to fall down in the forest, there's just 30 seconds of him falling way too hard.
Oh,
because the Granny's one, he's supposed to stumble and gently lean himself on the thing at the end of the bed. It's a good 10 to 20 seconds of him just falling and knocking everything over. This poor man.
I can't wait to finish this, and I think I might sit down and see if I can find just a YouTube or something of the bloopers and just watch them. I can't wait to watch them because I don't want anything spoiled by seeing something I don't know about yet. So at the end of season 1, I'm gonna start Googling season 1 bloopers just so I can see all of these.
I'll send you I found them all on YouTube. So there is a, mostly what I found is compilation video. So I'll probably tell you stop at this point. So you can watch, I'll watch the bloopers because season 1, they're not that they're not funny, but I think season 2 and on, as the actors all got really comfortable with each other, the bloopers just get funnier. If that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
So
I mean, it's the same with any show. Friends, the season 1 bloopers are not as good as the season 10 bloopers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially once Snow, I was gonna say, as Snow and Charming. That's not what I'm gonna say. As Ginny and Josh, come get together and it's their relationship blooms, their bloopers get even funnier. They're just messing with each other the entire time, and actors that come in next season, even just some of their bloopers are just gold. So but it's definitely is as they get more comfortable with each other, the bloopers get they feel more comfortable to kind of goof around, so you end up with more funny things. There are some bloopers from season 4 though that are not in the blooper reel. They do exist because apparently they were in whatever blooper reel got shown at the season 4 wrap party that I would pay good money to get to see. I'm sure they're somewhere in the Disney archive, but they weren't on the DVD because it was 2 actors. They had a very contentious scene together, facing off, and they weren't quite getting the emotions, in the heatedness. So what they did was they told they basically told them just curse each other out when it's not your close-up.
Okay, that'd be funny to see.
I'm sure. So I'd pay good money for that, but
they don't like to let things out of the archives.
No, sadly not. So we want to do some fun facts. I don't have a lot, but I do have some. I would say, there weren't a lot of fun facts when I dig into the international titles. Because
that's okay. We had plenty to talk about, apparently.
Exactly. There were plenty of rants to be had in this episode, so I'm okay with there being less fun facts. So the international titles for this one, again, almost all of them were The Stranger, with the exception of French. It's usually French and German that are usually the outliers in these situations.
Always the French.
So French was The Promise of Pinocchio, which, okay, I guess if you want to keep the reveal of him being Pinocchio to within the episode, maybe don't put that in the title.
Yeah.
But you saw, it was a pretty quick reveal. It's not a big reveal. It's a big moment. It's just we see the flashback and then you see him with the hat and oh, okay, that's what we're doing here.
Well, we kind of figured it out in the episode before too.
Yeah, I think
I can't be the only one that picked up on that.
No, you definitely haven't, because by then there were all the clues. There were all the clues for it, and I said someone had apparently figured it out by episode 14, because that's what they said at the Paley Center event. Was there were a lot of theories out on the internet about who August could be. And they said someone had it right. So people had figured that out by episode 14. Mm-hmm. Because to be fair, I think by now people had figured out who Henry's father was. So
yeah, I still don't know. I won't know for a little while longer.
I'm not giving you any more hints. I told you by If you can figure it out, if you figured out after 206, I will confirm it. So I think by then you have all the clues.
That's fair. I'm not trying very hard to figure it out because I want to be surprised, especially since I had that almost spoil. Yeah, ever since that moment, I'm like, I want to know nothing. Let everything be a surprise. Like it's so sad because like there's a lot of times when I see your face pop up on TikTok now, I'm like, which account is this? I need to swipe. I need to get away because if it's the other account, I'm like, nope, books only. Books only.
Books only.
I don't want to be spoiled. I'm enjoying this far too much. Like we are about to finish season 1 and I'm just like, I get to do this for 6 more seasons.
I love that. I really do. I that was my concern because I know a lot of people do tend to fall off after with the first season usually. Like if they don't really love it by the end of the first season, there's not a huge reason to keep going. So that really was a concern. I'm like, are you liking this? I was like, does she like this enough? Does she actually like this, or is she just doing this because we've created a brand now?
So I think what it really is it's not just the fact that I am enjoying it. It's we already had a friendship before we started this. Yeah. And this is just a way that our friendship, like it's not just, oh, we have a podcast, oh, we get to do this. It's I get to talk about this with one of my closest friends. Yeah. And that's like the best part of it. It's not just like talking with somebody else on the internet randomly. Yeah. Or anything like that. It's somebody I know personally and I know about your life. I get to talk to you about all these other things like day to day. Like, because we talk pretty much every day now.
Yeah, like, pretty much.
We don't only talk when we sit down to talk about the shows. So it's a fun way to like have a friendship as well.
Yeah. No, I have, like I was saying last night with you, and I'm like, because I've been on a couple of other podcasts as well. And like I've greatly enjoyed my time on the other podcasts, and like the joke with the other ones is almost all of them like I can talk without worrying about spoilers because other people they've seen the person I'm talking to has seen the entire show, or they've put a spoiler warning on the episode, so people are warned that there might be other stuff being talked about. But like I guess not saying what I sacrifice in the being able to talk about the show in its whole context is I talk far more freely with you, and I feel like I can get my ideas across so much better because I'm not worrying about. Like with a new person, like what are they going to think about the way that I say this? I don't know. So I feel like
how are they going to take Save Your Fetus?
Exactly. How are they going to take Save Your Fetus? I do have to keep that in now.
You do.
Like I can talk so much more freely, or like my whole thing with Regina. She's just hot and mean. Like there's nothing else to like about her in the first season. Which
I will always be happy.
I stand by that.
Hot and mean women.
It's so good. So like I think. Not that I love I just love our podcast, because it's ours, it's our space, we have ownership over it. But getting to talk to you specifically, because I think we have such like very comparable ideas about the show, just coming from different perspectives, and also we just get on really well with each other, and me, and I can just talk in a way that may be chaotic, but like I can talk more freely, and I like that.
I love being able to now say again, you know how much I love chaos.
You do. So I had a point. We missed the second international title before we went on that tangent that I had here. It was the German. Back to I had a point. Hang on. Back to that. It was the German. Was Emma's Burden, which picks up on a different aspect of the episode, which I find interesting. Ooh. Because all of the other titles were about August. German was the only one that was about Emma.
Which was really sad. Like she immediately was really angry that he took her, but at the same time, like I am not angry at the 7-year-old for dipping out. He was 7 years old in a whole new world, being entrusted to take care of a newborn, and foster care is not exactly, always the best placement for children. So like
no. We'll see more of Emma's experiences in the foster system as the show goes on. We see a few more instances of it. Some good, some bad, somewhere in between.
I mean, she ended up pregnant when she did, so
she wasn't in the foster system at that point.
That's fair, but
by then she'd already left.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, but still.
Yeah.
Again, these are the fun facts that I pulled out because there weren't that many of them. I do have one more that I'll say for after we do the notes because I just think it's funny. But this is, again, I was really grasping for straws when it comes to fun facts. Apparently, the potted plant in Regina's kitchen. The planter is from IKEA.
Okay, but I love that.
I looked it up. It is, I don't know how to pronounce this. I'm probably going to butcher it. It's skurar, I think is the planter. It's very pretty, and apparently we can buy them from IKEA.
I'm not going to tell you how to pronounce IKEA items. I have no idea.
Not going to try and pronounce that again. But actually, no, sorry, one more fun fact, and then we can do stats, because I think this one's very cute. Henry's lunchbox when Regina goes to drop it off.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see that again. The lunchbox is a going thing with him. But it was a Tron Legacy lunchbox, and apparently our showrunners Eddie and Adam wrote the script for that movie.
Oh, okay.
So that's why it's in there. I mean, it's also nice that, like, in addition to fantasy, he also really likes sci-fi stuff.
Oh, I love sci-fi. Tron Legacy. That's a choice.
Yeah.
I mean, for our generation, being introduced to Tron was different. Because I remember my dad showing me that movie and being all excited, and I'm just kind of like, all right, it's pretty good. And he's like, what are you talking about? This is amazing. And I'm like, this is completely based on something from the 80s. This is amazing for you.
Yep.
Which is probably how my child feels when I show her stuff from the early 2000s. Although she really likes Spy Kids and Wizards of Waverly Place, so I don't think I'm doing too bad.
She's got good taste.
That's right. I get to watch Spy Kids with an excuse.
I love Spy Kids.
I love Spy Kids.
So what did you rate this episode?
Oh, okay. So for plot, I did give it an 8. It was a good plot. It made me angry, but it was like there was a storyline there. It wasn't just look what's going on with Pinocchio, like Pinocchio's backstory or anything.
Yeah.
There was something else there. I gave characters 7 because Geppetto and the Blue Fairy just have me really angry.
That's fair.
Personal, I gave it a 5.
Wow. Is that your lowest personal score?
It might be. I think it is this episode. While I don't think it was a bad episode, not one of my favorites. Watching children be abandoned and then a child get kidnapped is not on my list of things I enjoy.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it got a 20.
Okay. That's a reasonable score. I gave this much higher, weirdly enough. Higher than I was expecting. I think in my past rewatches it may have done worse just because there were continuity aspects involved. Yeah. So I gave it a 10 for plot, honestly, because I think this is nestled right in that falling action aspect of the season. Where, like, if our climax is the stable boy, everything kind of after it is falling action from, like, that major climax, but also it's ramping us up for the finale and for Emma more or less embracing being the savior as best she can. So I like what it is for the story, and I think it's very well placed. That this is the only place that it can go. I gave it an 8 for character because also Geppetto, Blue Fairy. Why are we doing these things? Why are we kidnapping children? Not a great time. But I did give it a 10 for personal. For my gripes with Geppetto and with Pinocchio and with Blue. This episode again is just it's so perfectly placed, and I think it serves such a unique purpose in this season, and I know how much it sets up, so I'm more inclined to really like it. So this got a 28 for me. Which is weird.
Wow.
I kept flip-flopping on some scores. I kept changing stuff around because I was like trying to what number feels right here. And 28 still does feel right. So, and again, I think Evil Charming helped. I know how you feel about it, but I think Evil Charming helped me. So that's why it gets a 28.
This is one of my lowest rated ones. Only this one and one other have a 20.
Oh, what's the other one? Is it Dreamy?
True North.
Oh, True North. No, you would like Dreamy.
I loved Dreamy.
Sorry, my bad.
Dreamy has a 25.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's interesting. That's
now I'm curious.
What usual?
What did I give True North? I think True North also got a higher score. I don't know. True North only got a 22.
I don't think either of us liked that one all that much.
Not
that I remember what happened in it.
That one's just filler. It's cute, but it's just filler.
Yeah.
So my last fun fact for us, in the Times, I always say, they get some things right and they get some things wrong. So something else that they got right, because I did double check this, when August shows Emma his leg, and he says that he started having these pains in Phuket, Thailand at 8:15 in the morning, which is 8:15 at night in Storybrooke when time started moving forward because she decided to stay in Storybrooke. Phuket, Thailand is 12 hours ahead of the state of Maine, so they got the time zones right.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
And again,
they allowed child abandonment, but they got the time zones right.
They got the time zones right. So, we'll give the writers that.
Thank you all for listening. Join us next time when we discuss Bob's Burgers Season 3, Episode 15, OT, The Outside Toilet, and Episode 16, Topsy. Don't forget to like, rate, and follow the podcast wherever you listen so you can be notified every time we publish a new episode. And follow us at OBDYK_pod on Instagram and TikTok.
This has been an episode of Okay, But Did You Know? A TV and media podcast. It was hosted by Lauren and Katie and edited by Lauren.